welcome to Josef's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, you don't need to subscribe or follow or like or any of that stuff. I just put the videos out where I can as a little bit of a documented timeline of this process. So, in today's video, what are we up to? Well, we've been working on the backline as you've seen in a previous one, and we are now getting to the point now where we've got to get this feature station and the point work happening. So this is sort of the main part of the layout that we're going to be track laying on here. And what's had to happen, as was explained in a previous video, where we're going to have this little roadway that's going to cut in here for a with the overpass for the backline here, a little snapshot window, and then this will all be covered back up again. What we've just got to appreciate is that originally, as you can see with that grey paint here, it was here. But when I realised that by the time we've added in the points, it wasn't going to fit, we needed to move it all up. As a result, it's up here. And what we did have were these beautiful sections of cork, and the track was also laid, sweeping around, ready to join up to where it was going to be. Of course, we've had to take a scraper, and as you'll see in this footage here, we've had to scrape away, lift the cork up, which was nice and easy because that was just down with the copy decks. But of course, I like to put my cork down with PVA. And as a result, we obviously, what you want to do is you want to scrape going with the grain of whatever the timber is you've used underneath where applicable. So all we've actually had to do here is we've just come back to literally where the corner ends, and now we're just going to have the track gently just do a little bit of a shimmy and a wiggle, and we'll hit here, which is now where we need to be dead set straight. To make this easier, I knocked up a little jig here that basically we can put it in and we can butt it right up against and get that nice straight right angle that we need there. So as we come in, two main lines, siding, and then the derelict siding, so to speak. And that's really the four lines we're going to see on this bit. Forget about the back line for a minute. So that's where we've got markings on the board where we're going to hit. We're going to get the cork to come in and try and run it as straight as we possibly can. And that's all going to need to start effectively just before we enter the crossing here. So let's recap the work that needs to be done. We pulled the cork up. We've got the track that we're just going to have to reshape around. I've made a wonderful handy dandy template here. So here's where that underpass will be, meaning that we need to start to get those tracks coming to here. So from here, we will get it linked up. And if we just carry down the board, the next thing is we are going to, again, we've got the back line, so we know how that's going to continue. We know what our limit is, coming in at 49 centimeters. And again, that's exactly why we've built our wonderful template. So we know that this is our threshold for where the back line will be. If we come over to the corner, you can see we've already taken some track just to make sure that we're going to be able to achieve our loop going around. So again, just at the moment, we'll use flex track, but this is third radius, and we switch back to second radius, and vice versa, a third radius, and that'll switch into a second. I'm going to be able to expand that out as necessary, unlike the other one, because we don't have one going down to the fiddle yard. As we come around, you'll also notice here, I've indicatively put down basically the threshold for where the backline curve needs to be. I'm not sure how this is going to be shaped. All I know is we need to at least reserve this section available for that to happen. So this is where the curve will end, and we're obviously going to need to make that cutting in the board here for the drainway. So what we're now going to do is we're going to grab our magnificent Peco points, and we're going to start laying them out now on the feature area and get a little bit of a rough idea of how this is all going to start to look and where it's going to be.
Well, I've been at this for a while, but I think I've come up with something. Curve viaduct. We're coming in from the curve. We're going to straighten our tracks up. We've brought the road crossing up to here, so we'll stay with our two tracks. And we'll probably from this point go from having two single lines of cork and merging it into the large sheet, cross our road here, and then we're going to open it up. And here is the master plan of attack I think we're going to go with. It's all a bit rough at the moment. Let me just point it out. First of all, if we can just start with this side here, and as you can see, as it comes down, it's sort of way off the rest of the main yard, because this is what would have been the original line years ago. Again, here's our roadway. And you'll notice I've just put a couple of screwdrivers here. So I'm going to sort of like put almost like a little bit of a safety rail there and some clumps of dirt. And from certainly this side onwards into the countryside, this is just going to look like overgrown, unused, disused track that we don't use anymore. From this end, it's still going to look a little bit not as used much, but we could still, it's still accessible from the main line, that we could bring something in and store it here, and or we're going to be able to shunt back to leave something here, or a couple of locos, engine shed, who knows. We can sort of work with this area and do something. Remember, I've worked it out that just about here, we're going to cut the board just before it sort of enters the curve, while there's this little straight section, and before the points, a little opening to cause that little stormwater drain that we're going to have here. Nice and neat. So if we just have a look going this way now, so we've got our two main lines that are going to come off the curve, and then from there we can carry on, of course, straight. This is a single slip being used in here, and I've just overlaid the track now to give you an idea, but we've got the single slip here. So we carry our main lines on, and accordingly there is a series of points up there we can swap backwards and forwards on. We also have another point coming in here, which gives us this extra siding, which is where we were discussing before. Now that I've had to do a bit of mucking around now, I've streamlined it. I've ditched the idea of having an additional point here, which was going to go nowhere with the roadway really. It was only sort of to flick back here, but it was wasted space. So instead we're just going to have it come and join back up. These points that are upside down are the ones I need, because I've got them the wrong way. So I know what I'm going to need to order to correct this problem. But this siding now, which I've done a few calculations with, and it's not too bad, we're going to comfortably, if we just grab a coach, and that's 2 coaches, and then we put this one over here, that'll give us 3 coaches, 4 coaches, 5 coaches, and we'll probably just squeeze a locomotive on, and that's starting to look pretty good. I mean, we're still going to be able to get this out a little bit further, and where it's going to be. I did noodle around with it in another configuration, which meant that the 2 switchbacks for the 2 main lines that had to happen here, I would set up before the road crossing. But then it didn't leave much coming in from that curve straight into it, and it seems crazy having your roadway with a series of crossings here and a series of crossings here. It just got a little bit messy. Again, we'll keep this section as cork, and then the cork will open up into the yard over here. But we're only going to keep this section corked up in one piece. That way it's got a natural flow where the road would come up onto the crossing and go back down. And we'll carry on going down because the road's been repaved, where we'll still have this track raised up on cork, but again, it'll look disused, so we should create a little bit of depth in there. So that's the master plan of what I think we're going to get up to. Now we just need to make it all happen.
We're going to conclude the video here because, as you can see, things are well underway. But I wanted to break it up rather than it's already been a bit of a snooze fest understanding what I'm doing. So the next video coming up is going to be an absolute corker, and it's going to include our good friend a laser as well. So what more could you possibly want to see there? So we're going to wrap this up now. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll certainly be seeing you in the next one. Stay safe. Toodles.